everybody, and welcome to my updated Watercolor Supplies video. Yeah, I don't know what I just did. Before I start, I'm going to apologize for any background noise. My window's open because my room gets really hot, so air. There was a car. So, if you remember, the first video, my room was pink, I was blonde, and it was cold. It's been 8 months. I filmed the first one in January, and I'm filming this one in August because, in my opinion, a lot has changed with the fact that I make better content, as in I actually have everything in front of me this time, and I'm not going to be super awkward talking about it. And also the supplies themselves are different, so it's not just me that's changed. Stuff has changed. Anyway, let's get started! Alright, so we're gonna start with a little bit of prep. So, for prep, we have this. My sketchbook. It's, it's Captain America. Shield is 3D, and it smells like pennies because it's made of metal. If you're interested, I got this at Target. So, this is what I mean by prep work. I have my original sketch that I had to scale down a little bit because the paper I was painting the final image on was smaller. So I then traced the smaller image onto some old marker paper that I really don't like or care about. But I traced it on, rubbed some pencil on the back, and then transferred the sketch, this one, onto the final paper. But before I started the painting, I did a quick little tonal study with some markers just to, pick where I wanted the light to come from and make sure I liked that. And in my opinion, that helped so much with getting contrast and just proper lighting. So I'm going to be doing that from now on because it was so helpful. And it's just stuck in here with some washi tape on a blank page because I knew I was gonna do the final one on this page, so I didn't put anything on this page, but now there is, and there's no pencil on it, so doesn't matter. And next we will do painting surfaces. Let's go! So, all my painting surfaces aren't quite done yet. There's a thing I want to try, and I know I want to do it, and I will most likely love it, but I don't have all the stuff to do it yet, so I'm just gonna tell you about it. Does that work?
I have a bunch of canvases that I don't really use, and I want to use them because they take up a lot of space. But there's a way to turn them into watercolor canvases, to turn normal canvases into watercolor canvases, and it's really easy from what I've read. All you need is gesso and golden absorbent ground. They don't have golden absorbent ground at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. They don't carry golden in general at Hobby Lobby. So I have to order it online, but I haven't yet. And I didn't buy the gesso because I was just going to buy it when I bought the other stuff, but I never bought the other stuff. So that's something I want to do. What you do is you put the gesso on the canvas, so the dry you set it down, and then you put the golden absorbent ground over it. And depending on how many layers you do will affect how absorbent the canvas is, which will then make it more like watercolor paper, which might be cheaper than buying like watercolor canvases or aquaboards. I don't know. I still want to try aquaboards though, but again, I have to buy those from the internet.
But anyway, on to what I have. What I actually have. We're gonna start with the smallest paper. I use the fluid cold press watercolor paper in size 4x6. It is 140 pounds or 300 GSM. I picked this up at Curry's in Canada, in Toronto, when I went up there in June. I went in June. I got 2 pads of the exact same paper. This paper is what I did this illustration on, and it didn't buckle as bad as a lot of my other papers. I don't stretch my paper because I'm bad, but this paper has gummed edges, which in my opinion it helped keep it flat. And it's really nice paper. I really like using this, which is a problem because I don't carry this at Michael's or Hobby Lobby either. So I either have to drive to the Blick in the state south of me, or order it off the internet. But that's effort. After that, we have this blank paper. It's from the B Paper Company, and I believe it's 5x7. I still don't know. I've used this for a couple paintings. If you follow me on Instagram, I use this paper for Sugalite and Malachite from Steven Universe. Hopefully I'll use this more. I haven't been painting a lot recently because I've been busy, but hopefully I'll find more time to do that. And after that, this was in the last video, but it didn't look like this. It's the Canson watercolor sketchbook. I decorated the cover because I wanted to. And I've actually used it this time. Look at that. I'm getting attacked. I used it and I really like it. This paper buckled really bad, but that's because there was a lot of water on it, like the bucklage. Yeah. But for how much water I used on this, it held up really well. I enjoy it. It's not as I can take it with me. It's really big in my opinion. It's 7x10. It's not like my old Strathmore one that I had. I took that one to school a couple times and painted in school, like during my lunch or my my free period, because I had the last period off. But if I had anything after school, I had to stay. So I'd just sit in like the choir classroom and just paint something. So that's what I did during school. And then my Artist Loft watercolor pad in 9x12. I don't know the weights of the other papers. Forgot I didn't mention that. But this one is the same as the Fluid. It's 140 pound or 300 GSM. It's just 9x12. It's bigger. I haven't done a lot of big paintings. I tend to stick with smaller ones. But I want to start doing bigger paintings. Just because I do. Alright, so I had to close my windows because my neighbor started mowing their lawn. But that doesn't stop filming. So, next we move on to brushes, applicators, and brush accessories. So, I'm just gonna go over the brands of brushes I use. If you want a more in-depth brush video, let me know and I can go over that. Just because that'll take up a lot of time in the video and I don't want this to be too long. So, the first brand of brushes that I use are the Royal and Langnickel Zen brushes. All of these brushes are synthetic haired. They're really soft and they're really good for watercolor. They're in the acrylic section, like with the acrylic paints at Michael's, but they work with watercolor. They had a sale on them, so I got like 4. And I love these. These are the brushes that I have the most of, because I like them, they're nice. So, after that we have the Craft Smart brushes. I think you can get these anywhere. This is also synthetic haired. This is the only fan brush I have, so that's why I use this one. My nose is itchy. God. But, yeah. I've yet to actually use the fan brush, but that way I have it, and my hair is going crazy. So after that, I have Artist Loft brushes. I only really use 2. These you can get at Michael's. I think you can only get these at Michael's. I think this is their store brand, which is fine. So yeah, I don't have a lot of these because they're not the best, and also because I like using nicer brushes. And then lastly, I have these handmade modern brushes that I got at Target. There was like a pack of 7, and I got them for like 10 bucks. So I did it. These are synthetic cured too, and so are the Artisoft brushes. But these brushes, even if they're not the nicest of quality, it tells you what type of brush it is. If it'll focus, it won't. But it's a medium round brush, and down here on the end it tells you what it's used for. Like this one, the medium round, would be for details and line work, which I can see. But even if I don't, like if these aren't the best quality, if I get brushes the same shape as these, then I'll have a general idea of what they're used for, which is nice. Now, other brushes I have are my 2 water brushes. I have the Pentel Aquash water brush and the Kuretake H2O water brush. I only really use these when I'm traveling or going somewhere. Like, for example, I go to school, you know, because I'm a child. But sometimes I'll take my watercolors to school with me and like do a little painting during my lunch period or free period, something like that, and that's when I'll take these with me. Other than that, I don't really use them unless I like get a new watercolor and I want to just see what it looks like on paper. Then I'll just use these because they already have water in them. But yeah, something I use with just this one, is this art syringe. It has a little like needle, but I'm not going to show it in case anyone gets triggered by that type of stuff. But this has a like really small hole, and you're supposed to like put it in water, squeeze it, and the water gets suctioned up, but in my opinion that does not get nearly enough water. So instead I use this and just kind of put the little tip, which is right here, in the little hole, and then I just push water into it, so that's all I really use this for. But it works really well. Yeah, so other applicators are this. It's a paint eraser. You use it for like oil paintings and stuff to just like remove paint. And you can use it for acrylics too. But it's got rubber ends, so I use it for applying masking fluid. Since it's rubber, the masking fluid doesn't, you know, ruin it. And I can just pull it off. It has 2 ends. It's this end's pointed, kind of like a pencil, and this end's angled, which is really nice. I got this at Hobby Lobby for like $5. It's worth it. And then I also have my palette knife, which I used with my watercolors. When I got my new palette that you're going to see later, I had to scrape some of the colors off the old one because they were just put in there, and there was a lot, but it was the tiny Cotman tubes, so that was a lot to me. So I used this to get the paint out. I also use this to remove the fluid paper from its pad to get the gummed edges up. And yeah. I also keep my brushes and stuff in this little tin cup that I got on Michael's. I don't think they carry them anymore because no one was buying them. It was like their created space stuff. It was like a $7 tin, and it's like this big. I wonder why no one was buying them. I bought them when they were discounted. So yeah, next we shall move on to inking supplies. Alright, so now we move on to inking supplies. I use a couple of my brushes, but as I said in the brush part, if you want me to do an in-depth video on the brushes, then I will. And yeah, they're brushes. So we're going to start with the bottled inks. So the first one I have is the Speedball Super Pigmented Acrylic Black ink. Or super black. Gotta get it right. This is waterproof. I've used it with a couple watercolor illustrations, and it's really nice. I really like the ink. Yeah. So my other bottle inks, all of them are the Liquitex inks. I think they're acrylic inks as well. Yeah, they're acrylic inks. So I have them in the color Yellow Medium Azo. This color, in my opinion, sucks because it is just, it's always separated. I think I need a new bottle. I have Phthalo Cyan Blue Green shade. I have Quinacridone Magenta. This color's pretty. And then those are for normal colors. And then I got the metallic set, which these ones separate too, but they usually go back and become joined again really easily. The yellow doesn't. In Iridescent Bright Silver, Iridescent Rich Copper, and Iridescent Bright Gold. And they're all really nice. And this is what they look like. That is the magenta, the yellow, the blue, silver, copper, gold, and black. And the iridescent inks, you can't really, there we go, are super reflective and they're really nice. I really like them. Yeah. Oh, and this is my little swatch book that I made, which will come up again. So next are my inking pens. I don't use these that often, but I have them. I have both the Copic multiliners and the Micron pens. I have them in both black and sepia in both brands. I like having two color options, and my Copic ones kept drying out really quickly and they weren't working that well. So once I finish off using these ones, I'm gonna start using my Microns, because I've heard from a lot of people that they work really, really well. And they're also waterproof, which is nice. Another thing that goes with my inks is this little plastic palette that I got at Michael's. It's mainly for mixing colors, or to just have them out, so I'm not dipping my brush into the jar all the time. Mainly so I don't cross-contaminate the inks and give the yellow a bunch of the magenta. But this is so I can mix them and stuff. But yeah, just a cheap plastic palette. Nothing special. So next we're going to talk about little extra things. Yeah. Okay, so here are the little extra thingamabobs. I have the Winsor & Newton colorless masking fluid. I used this for the first time yesterday on this piece, and I already love it 10 times more than the old masking fluid I have, because it was so much easier to lay down and it did not rip the paper, and it actually worked. I'm so happy. And the next thing I have is just Scotch masking tape. I got the clean release masking tape because the normal masking tape was ripping my paper, so I was just using this instead. I also use this to stretch my watercolor paper when I use the loose B paper, because it's loose. And I'll probably use it with the 9x12 stuff too, because I'll take that out. But I'll use my little clipboard, or if I use something bigger, I'll probably use my drawing board. And I'll just put that on my kitchen counter, wet the paper in the sink, and then tape it down with this. Another little extra thing I have is my little swatch book. When I organized my markers last, I just swatched them all because my old color chart was not working for me. It wasn't in any sort of order, so I just made a new one. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, it's really empty, this binder ring. So then I filled it up. I put in my liquid inks, my watercolors, and my gouache. They're all swatched in here, and it's really quite useful for picking colors. Another little extra thing, sometimes when I'm adding details, I will use my Prismacolor Premier pencils. Just because the watercolor pencils that I have aren't as high quality as these ones, they don't lay down as nicely. So I just use these ones for like fine details. Like in this piece, I used them for her eyelashes to get the color of her lips right because my watercolors just weren't working. I used them more for finishing touches. And yeah. And now we have the paint. So I'm gonna start with stuff I don't like that much. My watercolor pencils. These are the Artist Loft ones. I got this set of 12, I think. I never use these because they're really low quality, and what you're supposed to be able to do with watercolor pencils just doesn't happen with these. Like, after you lay them down, they're supposed to be, you know, blendable with water. This is the swatch book again, and you can see I added water, but it didn't do anything besides make a line from where I didn't put water. Yeah. I want to get nicer ones, but I can't justify that because I never use them. But I never use them because the ones I have are really bad. So I'm gonna have to get either one or two of the nice ones, or see if they have them at school and just try them to see if I like them and will use them before I go out and make that kind of purchase. So yeah. Next we have my iridescent palette. It's the same one as before, the Yasudamo pearlescent color palette. I got this in Michael's. It's really nice, and they are pretty metallic, as you will see in a moment. They're not like the highest of quality, but they're still pretty nice, because I think I got them for like $6 or $7, which isn't that bad. And in my opinion, I'd rather try something with cheap products and see if I like it. But that always doesn't work out. Like these, if I had gotten somewhat nicer ones, I probably would have liked them more. But getting really low quality ones turned me off. But these are really nice, and yeah. They're not the best for doing like really opaque portions. For that, I'd use like metallic inks or get fine text, but for just adding a pearlescent effect over something, they work really well, which is nice. So next we have the Gouache palette. It's the same one as before, but this time there's another color. When I went up to Canada, we went to two art stores. We went to Curry's, where I got the fluid watercolor paper, and we went to Above Ground Art Supplies, where I got a bunch of Turner paint. I only got one tube of gouache because I wanted to try it, and it was a little expensive, but it was really nice compared to all of my Reeves gouache. This one I went to Chicken Dinner. I think it's more expensive than these ones, but it's not like super expensive, which is nice. But it's really nice. Turner is slowly becoming one of my favorite brands of paint. So next, we have the Magical Watercolor palette I upgraded. This is the Meeden, M-E-E-D-E-N, I think, watercolor palette. It's tin, and it holds 24 half pans, but because I just put my Winsor & Newton ones in, which are smaller than the ones they provide, I can fit more. Yeah. And on the top, it's the same sticker from the last one. And a Spider-Man one, because Spider-Man is the best. So it's like this. It opens. There's a palette here and here. And this part comes out. And the pans fall out because they don't fit. And there's more. It came with a little like thumb thing on the bottom here. It was like a little ring and you could slip your thumb through it. But since I didn't really hold my palette that way, I took it off because then the palette can lay flat. But yeah, it's a really nice palette. Going from mixing on plastic to tin was a bit of a challenge because the watercolor doesn't like pool the same, but it's still really nice. So it's still all the same watercolors except for these two are new. This one's new, that one, and that one. These three, this one, and this one I had before in my old palette. They just were in the little water well. But yeah, these 5 are Turner, and they're really nice. These 2 are pearlescent, and they're beautiful. This one is Grumbusher. It's a gray. It looks black, and I thought it would be a more like lighter gray, but black substitute. I don't know. But it says it holds 24. This is 24, and there's room for 2, maybe even 3 more pans. I think a Winsor & Newton one could fit right there. Look at cobalt turquoise light. That color's pretty. But yeah, my new watercolor palette. I'm really enjoying this one. I still have my old one in the closet, so I'll probably keep it and fill it with maybe I'll just get like professional half pans and put them in this one and put the Cotmans back in there and just, you know, use it to go places. But yeah, now we have the tube storage for all the paint. It's the same one as before. It's the Creative Options craft storage. It goes in this big thing. But I took the oil paint out of it that was in here before and moved that. So this is just watercolor and gouache. So let's start with gouache. This won't stay open without knocking things over, so I'm just gonna hold it. So I have my 2 brands of gouache that are in my palette, and that is the Reeves gouache and the Turner Designer's gouache. And as you can see, there is a significant difference in the size of these tubes. I got 18 of these for $12 or $16, which isn't that bad, but they're also not the best quality. I got this in Canada, and I think it was about $6 or $7 Canadian, but it's a lot of gouache, and it makes me happy, and they're very pigmented. I really like these, and I plan on getting more. Probably after I use this up, I might get a new, a nicer palette for my gouache if I'm gonna get higher quality gouache. Just because I prefer to have nice things to go with my nice things. Another brand of gouache I have that I haven't put into my palette yet is the Winsor & Newton Designer's gouache. Also the box is cute. I like it. I got this set of 6. It's just the primary colors. And this was expensive. This was $60, but we got it at Michael's with a 50% off coupon. That's just one of the tubes. I know a lot of people use this and it's really good, so I wanted to try it. But because it's just primary colors, as in colors I already have, I think I'm gonna wait and experiment more with the gouache I have instead of experimenting with the nicer stuff. Because I'd rather use up the cheap stuff than the expensive stuff. Because that means I wouldn't have to replace it as fast. And so lastly are my watercolor tubes. So I have 3 different brands of watercolor tubes. I have the Gouache Academy watercolors, the Winsor & Newton Cotman watercolors. These two are pretty similar in size. This one is 7.5 milliliters and this one's 8, so not that big of a difference. And then I have the Turners, which are huge. This is 15 milliliters, and these are student grades, so the Cotmans were like $5 a piece, the Gouaches were like $6. This particular color I think was like $8 Canadian. Yeah, because it's a different like series, so it's nicer and whatever. But it was $8 Canadian for a professional color. Student, professional, and they're all around the same price. So I think I lucked out when I found these, because you can get them in America. They sell them at Cheap Joe's, I think. And I'm very happy. And when I start running out of certain colors, I'm probably going to get them from here, because their colors are just really nicely pigmented and I really enjoy working with them. Like, here you go. This is the red that I got with my Turner gouache, my Turner paint. This is the red that came with my Winsor & Newton Cotman ones. This red's more purpley, but this red is twice as vibrant, and I really do enjoy how bright and vibrant their colors are. So I plan on buying more. But I think that is everything. So if you want me to do that brush video where I go more in depth with all my brushes and whatnot, if you want me to do a comparison on like the different brands of gouache or the different brands of watercolor, let me know. If you want me to compare these or just review anything I have, let me know. I will try to cater to your needs, your requests. But other than that, like, comment, and subscribe if you would like to. And stay tuned for more videos. I use the fluid watercolor paper with the cold press. To go with the H2O brush, I have an art syringe. I'm covering up the little needle. Another window open in my room. I was wondering why that was so loud. Ugh. Okay, so next we move on to brushes. Once I get my room completely in order, there will be a room tour. Okay, now I've got to put all this away.